a solid start to the League One season for Stevenage. They won 1-0 against Shrewsbury Town on the opening day. No win since then for the Boro, but some encouraging signs as they adapt to a new era under Alex Revell. What's in store for them this season? And we'll have a bit more of a League One chat with Matt on this League One podcast. Yes, welcome along to this EFL Debate League One podcast. Get subscribed to EFL Debate on YouTube and on Spotify. But for now, I'm delighted to be joined by Matt Farley from the Stevenage Football Club podcast, looking a little bit enthusiastic as ever, but a little bit more purple than usual.
Do you know what? I was literally just going to say, I feel like my enthusiasm matches the colour that you kind of perceive me as. But no, again, to everyone watching, a massive apologies. My tablet's camera configuration is broken. So if I look a little bit of a tint of purple, God, that's why. Not just because I'm feeling, so enthusiastic that the screen's changed.
You're still Stevenage, you're not Fiorentina.
Yeah, well, look. We have got a stunning purple and black away kit. So I guess I'm somewhat rocking the purple colour. We've got the maroon hoodie as well. So, look, we've gone for that colour theme, basically.
Lovely stuff. So, Matt, how are you feeling about the first 4 games in the league for the Boro?
Wow. We're underway, Gab. We're underway. A month's gone. I can't believe that, by the way, that a month has been played in this season. It's crazy. What a crazy month for us. I think coming into this season, we called it the biggest season because I think, of the way the division is and the teams that are in it, the money that's been spent, as obviously it's been well documented with Birmingham City. Mm-hmm. And with us, a new era, the Alex Revell era. We say a brand new team, we've kept the mould, but a lot of new players, brand new setup. And this is the start of, hopefully, a very bright future with Alex Revell in charge. So we've played a month, 1 win, 1 draw, 2 defeats. Mm-hmm. A really good performance in the League Cup away at Norwich and a solid win in the trophy. 16th, 4 points from 4, point per game, a point clear of the bottom 4. It's been, I think, a good start. It's kind of mixed feelings, really, over our opening month. You've got the category of Stevenage supporters like myself who are content and we know where we need to get better. And there's circumstances around that for why we need to get better in terms of injuries to our strikers, etc. And then you've got the mould that are quite concerned with it. But I don't think it's a need for concern. I think we've had a solid start. It was very big that we won on the opening day, just to get that win.
I loved Matt. I loved seeing Alex Revell celebrating that first win. It was like you could see the smile on his face. It was just a really cute moment.
And by the way, it's so nice for a change to see a manager do fist pumps for us. Who's aesthetically pleasing, Gab? He's able to move. He's able to give it some more in the fist pumps. But that was a big win for the team and Revs, and a great moment seeing him do those fist pumps. And look, we've had a solid point away at Burton that we should have won. We've had a loss to Huddersfield where we could have nicked a point with chances in the second half, and then a defeat to Lincoln, which we probably didn't deserve to lose. So, no, I think we've had a solid start. I think what we've done is we've allowed room to improve, and I think we will get better when we get a lot of these injured players back. But I'm very content with it. 16th place, I'd bite your arm off for that at the end of the season. So to have our first win, have 4 points on the board already, I'm very happy at how the start's been.
Matt, Ken Abbo on loan from Norwich City is a signing I'm very excited about because I've spoken to people at Norwich City, sort of journalists, and they've always talked about Ken Abbo as a really exciting prospect. And he only recently tied his future down at Carrow Road for 3 years, quite recently, because there was some talk before then that maybe he was going to feel like he wanted to move elsewhere, but so it's definitely believed that Norwich did well to tie him down to a new contract, and I think he's a hot prospect, and he's shown lots of potential in the for the under-21s, and I think it looks like Stevenage have done well to get him.
Yeah, I think he was a player that was needed as well for Scab. I think when we look at our forward line, and that's kind of, I don't want to say concern because it's not a concern. We've only played 4 matches and we've showed, by the way, and I'm sure we'll get into it later, really good early signs with some of the performances as well. But he was a player that we needed. We've got a few strikers out at the minute with injury. A couple are coming back. We've got the new signing in Jake Young, which I'm sure we'll chat about as well. But Ken is a player that is needed. He's got a lot of pace. And I think with the style that we play at, he is going to suit us. And, he come on against Lincoln on Saturday and he looked really good. He got into a good area in the box where he nearly actually scored a header. And I think he's going to be a really, really good player for us this season. It's been really nice that we've got him for a full season loan rather than a 6-month loan where he goes back in, January or December. We've got him for the full season. Alex Revell likes him. Revs has said that he's watched him for a long time. I'm really happy we've got him. And it's nice to, have more pace up top as well, because when you look at our forward line as a whole, everyone looks at Elliot Lists, for the pace element up top, but we've got Kenaboa now. So, I'm really happy we've got Ken, and I think he's going to do really, really well for us this season. And look, he's an important player for us. He's in an area of the pitch at the minute where we just need a better output. So, I'm over the moon that we've got him.
I'm wondering, because I think you've got 4 strikers. Am I right in saying you've got 4 strikers at the club, Matt? Because you've got Jamie Reid, you've got Louis Appere, Tyree Simpson, and now Kenaboa. But by the looks of things, based on the BBC's reporting at least, you only played 1 up top against Lincoln City. Now, whether that was down to injuries, because you only had 2 out-and-out centre forwards in the matchday squad, so presumably Jamie Reid and Louis Appere were absent. But I'm just wondering, is that going to force Alex Revell to have a rethink when he does have all 4 strikers available?
I think he does need a rethink. I think, when we look at the players in the final third that are out, and there's another name on that list as well, Aaron Presley, who's out as well. So, we're missing a good chunk of our strikers. As you say, Jamie Reid, hopefully, should be back this month. So we've missed Jamie Reid. Louis Appere missed Saturday. Aaron Presley's been out with surgery for 6 months. Jake Young we've signed, who...
Of course,
couldn't play. So
that's 6 strikers, Matt.
I know. We've got loads. Just 2/3 have been able to play. So we've kind of been stuck with Tyree Simpson, List, and Kenaboa it was for Saturday. But
List.
We've got loads, Gab. And you know what's really funny as well? We've got those strikers, and you think, wow, there's a big chunk there. But then you look at the attacking players like Jordan Roberts and Dan Kemp that come into the equation that can support as well. So when you look at the pie as a whole, it's massive, really, our kind of strike force. But 2/3 have missed with injury. So I think Alex Revell is going to have to rethink, because, we were having this debate on our podcast, and I think the only area at the minute that needs improvement is the output in the final third. We've scored 2 goals this season and 1 from open play and 4. So when you look at that, you think, we need to improve that. But when you look at the players that are missed, when you think, Jamie Reid's coming back, Jake Young's going to play, Louis Appere is going to get back in, there's going to be goals that are eventually going to start to come for the team. So I think Revs is going to have a rethink. We had this debate on our podcast, me and Andy the other night, talking about when everyone's fit, what's our best 11? And I initially went for a 2 up top rather than a 1 or a 3 with a 4-3-3. So I think there's going to be a time, hopefully very soon, where Alex Revell has to kind of rejiggle the team a bit, because we're going to have really good players available, like your Jamie Reeds, etc. So
Matt, I just don't see how you can have 7 strikers in the squad and not play 2 up top.
Oh, yeah, most certainly. And look, we know that Revs likes the 4-3-3. He's played it a lot in the opening 4 matches. But I think with the players we've got, and look, people might disagree, I think there's other better available formations for us to play with the squad we've got, right? And I think, when you look at the forwards, when you look at Jamie Reid, Jake Young, Louis Appere, I want to see them in pairs up there. And I think eventually Alex Revell will play pairs up top. And I think that's the way that we should go. So, I think he's going to have to rejiggle things around. He likes the 4-3-3, don't get me wrong. But I think to get the best out of our team, with the potential we've got, I think he will eventually have to change things in the final third.
Yeah, I mean, who would be the 3? The 3 then is an interesting one if you do play with the front 3, because Dan Kemp, I know you're very big on Dan Kemp, aren't you? Do you think he gets into your best 11?
I think Dan Kemp does, and I think he's played really well. He's been one of the better kind of performing players in the opening 4 games. I think what we've done with Dan Kemp is, when we talk about the 4-3-3, Alex Revell was played him in one of the top 3 areas. So he's been playing on the right side of the 3. I like it, but I want to see Dan Kemp in the central area a little bit more, where he gets on the ball a bit more. And against Lincoln, he did that. He put Dan Kemp back in the middle. And Dan Kemp was great. He ran a lot of the attack. He was brilliant. We had Jake on the podcast last week. Jake said it. Dan Kemp was brilliant. He ran everything going forward. So I think, look, Dan Kemp, and I said it to you when I was in Turkey months ago, has to play, and he will play. He'll be in the midfield a lot more. So especially if we go with the 4-3-3, I think Alex Revell will look to play someone else other than Dan Kemp in the higher area. Maybe Jordan Roberts, who's come into the team a lot more.
Interesting, yeah.
I think Dan Kemp should be, but will also be put back into the midfield.
Interesting. So if you were playing a 3-man midfield, you would put Kemp as one of that, but maybe slightly advanced. Because I don't know if Kemp and Roberts in the same 11, unless it's part of a diamond. I do wonder if that's a bit attacking, possibly.
Yeah, so I think the way that we've looked at it, what you could possibly do if Alex Revell goes with a 4-4-2 with a diamond, as you've said, you could mould probably Dan Kemp into that diamond area and maybe drop Jordan Roberts.
Yeah,
right?
To the left, or to the left of a diamond.
That's it. And this was really funny, actually, when me and Andy were talking about this, because I went, so if we're picking our best 11, is everybody fully fit? And Andy said yes. And I've completely forgot about Jake Forster-Caskey, who's out at the minute, who's going to eventually be back. And I thought, well, Jake has to play eventually. So I was thinking, well, there could be a world where you could have Jake Forster-Caskey on the left, Dan Kemp in the 10 at the top of the diamond, someone else on the right, maybe a Nick Freeman or someone that can balance the right side. And then you could bring Jordan Roberts in, or likewise, you can have Jordan Roberts start and Kemp out. I think that's the way you'd go about it with the diamond. I think the other formation that you could play, and again, me and Andy joked around with this, was you could go a 4-2-2-2, right, where you have the 4 as the back line, 2 hitting, 2 free players in Kemp and Roberts, and then 2 strikers. That might look a little bit more attacking, but it does give you that option to play in both if needed.
Yeah, it certainly does. I tell you what, Matt, I really like the signing of Eli King, because he got some rave reviews from Morecambe for his work at the base of midfield. Got a great engine on him and really looks after the ball. I'm wondering if you've been able to see anything of him yet.
So he came on against Lincoln for the last 15 to 10 minutes last Saturday. And yeah, look, we didn't get to see loads of him. He looked a really good player. But I think there's actually a role for Eli in this team, because look, we come into this season and I think we all had a perception on what Alex Revell was going to play or who he was going to play. And in the opening day against Shrewsbury, it was very clear that all those kind of pre-thoughts that we had about the team he was going to play was completely wrong. Right? It
feels like a lot of thoughts on the team he's going to play are going to be wrong. It feels like we're yet to see what Stevenage's best 11 is. Really.
I know. We assumed Dan Phillips was going to be the holding player. He was going to have Dan Kemp in the midfield, and it wasn't. Dan Phillips was a midfield player that he had in a free role rather than sitting. He had Louis Thompson in a role that we never thought. So I think we kind of come into the season and it was a little bit like, wow, we're actually playing players in positions we didn't actually think would play there. Why I'm linking this to Eli King is we thought Dan Phillips was going to be the holding player, but he hasn't been. And I think Eli, actually, there's a position there potentially for him to slot into and actually play a lot more than we probably thought that he was going to play. And actually, that's why I think we got him. I think Alex Revell has thought, actually, Dan Phillips, we want to play elsewhere. There's an option to bring Eli to the club to play in that role. So I think there's an important role for Eli. I want to see a lot more of him. I think there's going to be an opportunity to play him a lot more with Dan Phillips not playing in that holding role. But I like him. He's got good reviews at Morecambe. He's got good experience at the level in terms of League Two and League One. So, yeah, I'm happy to have Eli. I think he's going to play a lot more than people think.
Mm. Yeah, hopefully you can make a big contribution. Do you think that you've got so many players, Matt, that it's almost difficult to? I look at the very beginning of Steve Evans' first squad after his first transfer window. We spoke about. Um, I think it was something like 15 or 16 players competing and sort of rotating. Whereas now
Yeah.
it feels like you've got so many midfielders, so many strikers. The spine of the team is so stocked with options, and
Yeah.
I almost it almost feels like, is there such a thing as too much choice almost?
It's a good debate to be had. I think one of the main reasons why we've done it is we've had injuries. And I
Yeah,
think Alex Revell's looked at it and thought, well, we have to go out and sign 2 or 3 more players. We've got injuries. I mean, when you look at the squad as a whole, I think we're up to about 25 at the minute. I think it's 25. I might be wrong. If you
wouldn't
even
surprise.
look if you even look in the goalkeeping department, we've got 3 now because Tay's out for 6 months. So we've had to bring in Dean Buzanis as a backup to
Mm,
Murphy Cooper because Tay's out. So I think he's had to do it because of injuries. I think if Tay's fit, if Jake Forster-Caskey's fit, if Jamie Reed's fit, you probably don't see 2 to 3 of the players that have signed. But I also think it can be a good thing because the squad that the one thing we've got is a lot of squad depth. It will help with injuries and suspensions, and that will happen throughout the season. That we've got a bigger squad there, and there's more competition for places. So I think I think it works both ways. You could have the idea of, yeah, have we overbought? Have we over kind of brought players to the club where it's going to be difficult for Revs to cater players? You want players to feel like they're a part of the team, and if
mm,
you've got too many, do players lose touch of being a part of the team? But then on the other flip of the coin as well is it gives Alex Revell a lot of choice to choose players from a
mm.
big pool and a big selection. So
Yeah.
I think there's many links to it. I think in our case, I think it's a good thing. I think with the injuries, it allows us to be able to have a lot of squad depth with the injuries we've got. And look, who knows? Jamie Reid might come back and not be the same or might not be right. Tay Ashby-Hammond might come back and not be right. Jake Forster-Caskey might come back and not be the same player. So I think there's more of a positive to it, signing a lot more players than we had. But look, you know me, Gab. I love this squad. I love what we've put together. And okay, we're 16th at the minute and we've got a point per game at the minute, which will probably keep us up, by the way. But I'm really, really behind this team. I think they're going to get better. And if we're going to get better from the start we've had, we're going to be fine and we're going to have a really good season.
Let's hope that's the case. Talk to me about Kane Smith and the season he's having so far, and can he keep Luther Wilding at the team? Because I was wondering actually if Wilding might be injured at the moment because he didn't make the
Yeah.
last match day squad.
Yeah, he picked up a knock in the Football League Trophy game against Crystal
Right.
Palace under 21, so he hasn't been playing. But no, look, Kane's been great, by the way. But, it's no surprise with Kane because we said a couple of years ago, Kane Smith's probably better for League One than he is League Two.
Mm,
It's just his style of player and the way that he plays. He just suits the level more. Kane's been great. Kane's played in a few of the matches that we've played, and he's been really consistent. And actually, when I look at the last couple of games, actually, Kane Smith's been I would say, in the top 3 best performing players for
right.
us. Defensively, he's been brilliant. He's not letting a lot of ball into the box from his side of the pitch. He's getting forward well,
Mm,
and that's a very underrated part of Kane's game. Actually, is his attacking ability from a right
mhm.
back or right wing back position. And I think against Lincoln, he had a really good game. Lincoln have got a good side, and from memory, I think I remember 2 or 3 balls going into the box from his side in the whole game. He was brilliant.
Yeah.
So yeah, Kane has been, we talk about this a lot. I love the depth that we've got at the back because when you look at the back line, there's
Mm,
so many good players back there. On one day, you could turn up and go Kane Smith, Charlie Good, Pidge, Butler. And then for another game, you could turn up and go Luther Wilding, Sweens, Pidge and Butler. It's like you can change things around. It's such a nice issue to have. But
yeah.
Kane, at the minute, is performing really well. And I actually think Luther's had a knock. It's not that bad, apparently. But I think Luther's going to have to earn his place back in the team because Kane, the last couple of games, has
Mm.
been very consistent.
Do you know what as well, Matt? I think what you'd have to give Kane Smith a lot of credit for is it's not easy to stay in this Stevenage team or squad for how many since Steve Evans was appointed. I think you've had, let me count it, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 transfer windows. So there's been 5 transfer windows, and each time Kane Smith has kept himself in the reckoning, if you like. When there's been other players who have maybe fallen away a little bit because of the number of players that you've brought in. So I think that speaks to his reliability, really.
Well, I think as well, look, the players won't admit this, but as footballers, they'll know it. Is that these lads are a team and they want what's best for the team, but they want to play, right? And if anyone says there isn't competition for places, he's lying. There is. You're a team, and it doesn't matter if Kane Smith's starting or Luther's starting. Either one of them will want the team to win. It's their profession, it's their job, it's their team. But deep down, they want to play. And I can imagine it's been tough for Kane. The last 2 years, he hasn't played loads. But he has, and this is what I say about Kane, he hasn't played loads, but he's been a very important player, if that makes sense, because when he has played, he's been brilliant. So what I like about Kane is, hasn't played the same amount of games as Luther has, but he's still been a very important part to our team, more so this season, because when he's played, he's stepped up and performed. I couldn't name you more than one game where you come away from the game and you go, Kane Smith's played, and you've gone, oh, Kane didn't have a good game there. Kane has played consistently really solid since his tenure here. But that's what I like about him. He hasn't gone through a brown patch of form. He's been very consistent. Whenever he's been called upon, he's been very consistent for us over the 2 years. And I just love how he's playing at the minute. I think he's involved in a very good back line. Look, we've got one of the best defences in the division again. I think sixth. I think I might be wrong. But no, he's doing really well. And do you know what? I've got a funny feeling he might play a lot more this season than he has done the last 2 years.
Yeah, for sure. You brought in Lewis Freestone as a left-sided defender, and what interests me is I think we'd agree that he was brought he'd play left of a back 3, but left back in a back 4. But at the moment, is it a case of Dan Butler keeping him out of the team, do you think?
Yeah, I think when you look at Lewis, I always feel quite sorry for Lewis, right, Gab? Because when you look at the 3 centre halves, you see Carl Pigiani, Charlie Good, and Dan Sweeney. It's like, wow, how are you going to get in that team, right? I mean, Charlie Good wasn't even getting a game. You know what I mean? So now Dan Sweeney's picked up a knock. He might play, but yeah, look, I think it's been tough for Lewis. When you look at those 3, I don't want to sound bad, but you put those 3 at the top of our starting centre backs. So I think originally everyone would look at Lewis and go, right, left centre half, but you're kind of thinking, well, there were 2 of those players have got to be out for me to play. So I think Lewis Freestone's being used as a bit of a backup to Dan Butler in left back. Dan Butler couldn't play in the opener. Lewis Freestone played that day and did all right. There was a couple of moments where he let his man get past him, but he's not an actual left back. No. So I think Lewis Freestone's being used as a backup left back for Dan Butler. I think Dan Butler he's potentially keeping out the team at the minute. I think that Dan's done okay so far. I thought Burton, he didn't have a brilliant performance, but Lincoln, he was much better. But yeah, I feel sorry for Lewis Freestone because he's a very good player. But how are you supposed to get in your natural position when you've got those 3 centre backs playing, or in that start 11?
If I'm to sort of level a question maybe at the club from a strategic perspective, you've mentioned there that Lewis Freestone isn't a natural left back, but if you're playing primarily a back 4, which I think you've tended to this season, is there a danger that Lewis Freestone is kind of a specialist left centre half in a back 3, but actually isn't going to get into that role because you're going to play back 4?
I think that's a fair point because I don't think he'll get in a lot. I think Lewis will definitely play in the cup games. So whenever we've got trophies, maybe the FA Cup, when it comes up, obviously we're out the League Cup, but we've still got the other 2 cups, he'll play. But yeah, no, I think that's a fair point. I just can't see a world where you see Lewis Freestone ahead of Pidge, Good or Sweens, in my honest opinion. So I think he's going to find it tough. I think if Charlie Good hadn't signed, you could potentially see him play a lot more. But now Charlie Good's side, I think that was such a coup of a signing. Or such a good signing, Gav. I know that's such a bad pun, but I'm using it. I think it's going to be so difficult for him to play a lot with those three players. However, Dan Sweeney did take a knock on the weekend, so maybe potentially there could be a chance for Lewis Freestone to hop in if needed. But I think it's going to be tough for him. But don't get me wrong, good player. I like him. I think he's got a lot of talent. He come on in the League Cup against Norwich when we lost 4-3. We didn't deserve to lose that night. We were great. And he scored and come on was brilliant. So yeah, no, I like Lewis. I do feel for him a bit at the minute.
Murphy Cooper, Matt, how's he started since joining on loan from QPR?
Really good, Gab. Really good. Do you know what? I'm really impressed. When I first saw him, I wasn't sure. He looked a bit small in goal. I think, if we're honest, you had to look at him and you thought, "Oh, is he big enough in goal?" He's been great. Kept a clean sheet in the opener. Kept a clean sheet at Burton. He's got 2 on the board. And he's been very good. And do you know what? I think he's got better as the games have gone on. You could tell in the opening couple of games he looked a little bit nervous. I think he probably thought, he's playing League One football. It's, big season, knows that we need to get off to a good start with Revs, new team, new players. You could see that he was a little bit hesitant. His kicking's got better. I think for not the biggest of keepers in the world, he comes out well, commands the box, comes out for crosses. He did it in Lincoln many a time. The ball come into the box. He had the confidence to get up and get the ball. Yeah, I've been really impressed. Really, really impressed. And actually, I've spoke a lot over the last kind of couple of months of, we need competition for Tay. We need someone that's going to push Tay. I think Murphy Cooper's the goalkeeper to push Tay when Tay comes back. But I've been really
because you said, Matt, that you think Ashby Hammond has championship potential.
I do.
So if you've got Murphy Cooper there as well, then that's really interesting competition, isn't it?
Yeah. And don't get me wrong, look, Ashby Hammond's Ashby Hammond. We want Tay in goal. But, if there's an opportunity where Tay moves on in the future, maybe Murphy Cooper can come into the side as well. So, look, I think he's been great. For me, what's really impressed me about him is his distribution on the ball. That was one of the things I looked at because our goalkeepers, when you look at Tay's distribution is so good. And that was one thing for me. And what I've liked, when he's receiving the ball, he's really calm, he's really assured. His distribution of the ball is really good. And against Lincoln, where I sit on my season ticket is I'm right behind the goal in the North Stand. I was really impressed with his distribution. He was getting the ball and he was able to hit the ball 80 yards up the pitch. Really, really good distribution. So, yeah, I've been very impressed with him. He's a young lad as well. He's a young keeper. He's on loan. There's a lot of pressure. And, a lot of people say that the goalkeeping position is the hardest in football. And it might well be. There's a lot of pressure on him to perform. And he's doing really well. Look, he's kept 2 clean sheets out of 4. Do you know what I mean? So, yeah, really impressed with him, Gab.
Alex Revell then, Matt, has he sort of just continued that sort of relationship and connection he's got with Stevenage fans? And do you think he's got the majority of the fan base on side?
This is a very good question, Gav, actually. So I think half the fan base is, but I have a feeling that half the fan base are a little bit, not concerned, but I think worried is probably more of the word. Because I think, and I'm in the bracket of, I'm fully behind Alex Revell, and I think you can see by the team that he's built that he's ready for the job. Some of the players he's brought, Chait Young and Charlie Good and these sorts of players. They're magnificent signings for a team like us playing in a really tough league. But I like what I've seen from Revs early on. I think his in-game management has been absolutely fantastic. I think there's been games, and I'll give you an example. Huddersfield away. First half, very fair to say Huddersfield are a top side, and we struggled to get near them in the first half. He made changes. He put Louis Appere on, who automatically you're going to get a lot more intensity off the shoulder. He brought other players on, changed the game. And we missed sitters in that game. And if Elliott scores, it's a different game that day.
Yes, I do remember that chance. Yeah, it was a golden opportunity, wasn't it? Yeah.
I had my beer walking out the concourse, cheering, and it went wide, Gav. But, and what I liked in that game is we tried, and he never stopped changing things. He was changing every 10 minutes. Right, let's try. and we got a penalty, we scored, and just from his changes, he nearly got us a point that day. And then when I look at other games, I look at the opener, made really good decisions with 10 minutes to go, brought Nathan Thompson on to be a robust player to see him out the result. Burton, he never stopped trying things. He changed the team in certain times. I think his in-game management's been brilliant.
Do you think he's proactive then with his substitutions? And
he's proactive rather than reactive.
Yeah.
So Alex Revell will make a change. He won't sit on it and go, right, let's wait and see. And then something happens. I've got to change it. He's proactive, which I like. The worry that I've seen on Alex Revell is there's still a few doubters saying, is he good enough? We've got 4 points from 4. We've scored 1 goal from open play. Should he have been the right appointment for us? And I think people.
Do you know what, Matt? I think that's kind of like the when you appoint a manager, right? You've obviously got to weigh up the profile and what's their sort of background look like. But I think for me, the minute that you're appointed, you've got to be judged on what you're delivering and what you're seeing in front of you, for better or worse. Because otherwise, it feels a bit unfair. I think that somebody like Alex Revell gets sort of maybe negatively judged because he doesn't have the same coaching background, which isn't really his fault necessarily, but he's learned a lot under Steve Evans. So for me, judge him on what you're seeing in front of you, and at least give the guy a bit of a chance, in my opinion.
I completely agree, Gab, and I don't understand. I'm not blaming this on our fan base, but this happens with our fan base a lot, where we lose a couple of games and everyone always the manager, right? It's because we're scarred from the last 8 years of having managers come and go every year and a half. Yeah. But I really like Alex Revell. Again, you don't put the team together that he's put together to not be a good manager. He's put together a fantastic team. He's got a good style. I think the only issue for us has been scoring goals. But then when you look at the strikers that are missing, is it a surprise, really, that we're not scoring many goals in the opening 4?
We've not got Jamie Reid in the team.
We've got Jamie Reid. Haven't got Louis Apres missed. Aaron Presley's been out. Jake Young couldn't even. But we're missing a lot. And I don't think that's his fault. It's just a case of when we get those players back, you'll start to see a bigger output. But I think Alex Revell's the right man for the job. I think you can clearly see good signs in the opening 4 games. People might disagree with me here because they'll look and go, well, we haven't scored many goals. We've showed good signs in the 4 matches we've played. Shrewsbury in the opener, we dominated that. It should have been 2 or 3-0. Dan Kemp misses a penalty. It should have been more. Huddersfield didn't have a good first half, but second half it was completely different. We were really
against a championship squad,
Bingo. And again, Elliott List takes that chance. Louis Apres scores the 2-1 and ones he had. Different game. Burton probably didn't play to the level we wanted to first half, but second half we were in control and should have won the game. Lincoln never deserved to lose that. For the 90 minutes, looked comfortable, looked controlled. We just give away a silly penalty. So what I've liked, and I'm going to link this point to Alex Revell, is the opening 4 games. Yes, we haven't won loads of games, but we're showing good signs. And what normally happens with the side?
Norwich as well, by the way, Matt, just to add that into your point.
Oh, yeah, Norwich, even the trophy. Yeah, like those games, score 3 goals, scored a goal. We're showing good signs. And what normally happens in football is if you're not particularly scoring a lot of goals and not getting the results, the performances eventually turn into wins, right? Yeah. What you don't want is a side that aren't particularly playing well, that are nicking wins, but all of a sudden, when other teams improve, you start to drop points. And I think Alex Revell fell into the category of, we're showing good signs, we're playing well, okay, we're not scoring a lot, but when players come back, you will then start to see us get better. So I think Alex Revell's doing really well. I like the style. He's got a little bit more football in there. We've still got the direct element. And okay, there would be times I'd like to see us play a bit more than go too direct at times. But I think as a start, it's been really solid with him. And I think we're going to get better. Yes, we've got a tough run coming up in October from Charlton onwards. But I think
the Lamex can be a bit of a fortress.
I do. Why not, right? And even away from home. I mean, Gab, I was really impressed with the second half against Huddersfield. People might disagree. I was really impressed with it. I thought we were great.
Yeah. And also, Matt, by the way, Michael Duff, I think, is one of the best managers in the league. So for Alex Revell to outmaneuver him at times in the second half and come up with those switches that change the game in your favour. Again, I think that's a bit of a feather in his cap. So yeah, I could see your point.
I most agree. And I think, people have got to remember, what's the goal for us this season? It's to stay up in the league. And obviously people don't want to see us
Hopefully a bit more comfortably than that,
right.
Matt, I have to say. I think
that's what I was just going to say. Obviously,
yeah.
I'm not saying 20th because obviously it's nip and tuck. But, what's the goal? It's to stay up. It's to be comfortable.
Yeah.
And I think what's happened to us, we've seen a lot of winning football the last 2 years. And I think people have got an expectation of this has been the level. And don't get me wrong, someone asked me, yeah, but do you think we've got a better side than last year? Yeah, I do. But you've got to understand the league's got better. And, when you've got Birmingham spending £15 million on a striker, whatnot, it's a tough league. Yes, we've got a really good side, but it's a really good league. So I think for me, Alex Revell is doing absolutely fine at the minute. The team are going to get better. And I think if the team are going to get better, which they probably are, we're going to be absolutely fine.
The chemistry between Revell, Banfield, and Cuthbert, I'm curious to ask about as well, Matt, because I sort of like the idea that Revell's got that sort of experienced advisor like Neil Banfield, who's worked at Arsenal on the top of the game, and he seems to have a great relationship with Scott Cuthbert as well. He's got a bit of a hard man edge about him as well, and they seem to have a bit of a laugh together, and it feels like that's that's going to help the atmosphere in the camp that maybe you might say in the second half of the season was a little bit different perhaps.
Great point. I think the camaraderie is great. And look, I think Alex Revell needed two people there that he trusts with his life, number one. But I think you need to bring in good people that understand the identity, understand what we want to achieve, and understands the squad we've got. And I think when you look at the people in the management team, obviously Alex Revell, perfect fit for us going forward. Scott Cuthbert, I would say not many people would. I'd say he's a bit of a legend around the club. Scott, captain the hard times here, but my God, did he come through those hard times?
I love the tattoos on his. It's a real tough,
mate. You know what I love, Gab, and I'm getting there soon. I love that bald head on the touchline. Sorry, I know.
No, you've still got a nice head of hair there, Matt.
He has, by the way, good-looking chap, Scott. He's kept himself in good nick. Do you know what? Tell you what, I wouldn't mind seeing him, Sweens and Pidge at the back in League One. Get him in, Gab. But
maybe you should get him go for some gym sessions with Scott Cuthbert.
Get him fit. God, he'd own me up. Maybe I could get him on the running. That's maybe something I could outdo him on.
Absolutely, but, Scott. If you're watching or listening, get in touch with Matt Farley. He'll train you up.
And I'm sure he is watching, Gab. The EFL debate reaches heights of unknown, honestly. But no, I think the thing with Scott is that I talk about those things in the club. Scott knows this level. He was a brilliant professional, Scott. I mean, heck, he probably knows half the squad. He played against Pigiani. Do you know what I mean? So played with Luther, played with Reed. So, he knows a lot of this squad. But I think that continuity between him and Revs is important. Then we look at Neil Banfield. This is a guy that's been up the elite level of the football pyramid.
Yeah.
And what I like about Neil Banfield is, and something I've noticed in our 4 League One matches so far, you'll see Scott and Revs doing a lot of the managing, a lot of the talking, a lot of the coaching. Yeah. But Neil Banfield sat, and you don't see Neil. But what happens in the game, when something important happens in the game, you'll see Neil have an input. So
do you know what? That's exactly what I imagined he'd do, because I can't imagine him being particularly animated, but I can imagine him sort of using his sort of savvy wisdom to sort of just say to Revs, listen, just have a watch about this thing. We need to sort this out. And that sort of thing, that just experience in the game brings him that, with experience comes knowledge, or with experience comes with whatever. Yeah.
Knowledge is power. Yeah.
Knowledge is power. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
He kind of, not behind the scenes, but in the background, there'll be certain things that Neil will input about. And I like the dynamic of the coaching team. You've got Alex Revell, the manager, all the players massively respect. He's built this brilliant team. We've had a real solid start. Then you've got Scott, as a player, who's the coach? Scott Cuthbert. That's something you're going to respect. Yeah. Every day you go in.
If you need a centre half in his day to clear one off the line or do a last ditch block,
I mean, if you're Cole Pigiani, if you're Charlie Good, if you're Reed, who's the coach? Scott Cuthbert. I mean, that's who you want as your first team coach, right? And then you look at the assistant, Neil Bamfield. I mean, look at the respect he's going to have from being Arsenal and Arsene Wenger's number one. So
Yeah.
I like the dynamic, but it's more than that. They've built an identity, a style with the players that we've recruited for that purpose, and everyone buys into it. And look, I love the setup. And again, I think that's one of the reasons that you're going to see us get better. There's really good people in charge here, and they're going to improve the squad with the players that we've got coming back. So I really like them. I tell you what, it's been a bit of a pinch me moment, actually. You know, watching us in this our biggest season, and it is the biggest season for us with the league we're playing in and the opportunity for the future. And you look at the team, you know, they're playing in front of thousands of people at Huddersfield, and you look, it's Scott Cuthbert and Alex Revell on the touchline, and it's like. It's that giddy Stevenage Football Club fan moment. Oh my God, Scott Cuthbert and Alex Revell, for us on the touchline in the trenches at these big grounds, and it just makes me so proud, and it makes you support them even more. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely, yeah. I think the aim for Stevenage this season, Matt, is to try and establish safety as soon as possible. But I think also what I'd really like to see, or what I'd like to be talking about on our next summer deep dive in sort of June or July, is Stevenage have kind of condensed their squad and they've settled on a bit of a best 11, and it's a little bit more quality over quantity. In sort of the when we go into pre-season next summer, because I think that's going to be really important that you've got a bit of a tighter knit squad. I think it's great that you've got the depth that you have at the moment, but for me, get Alex Revell a year to acclimatise the job and learn from Neil Bamfield and apply some of the lessons that he learned from Alex Revell and get his feet under the desk. But then I think after that, then hopefully have a bit more of a condensed squad.
I was just going to say, what? Not preparation for the championship, Gab. You think you've been learning the belt there, but no. If I'm bit, could you imagine that? By the way, that'd be absurd.
Oh my God, yeah.
Us and Birmingham,
Everton away next season, Matt.
there we go. That'd be unreal, wouldn't it? Imagine it. Dear, we see Rebs and Scott at like Burnley or I don't know, something like that. But no. I think you're right. I think the goal is stay up, stay in the league, get in a really good, comfortable position in the division where we could be proud of. But I think it's more than that. Stay up in this league. They've proved that they can stay up in a really tough league. But it's setting the future with Revs. I think if Revs can stay up, it's kind of like, right, a weight's been lifted off my shoulders. Right, I've been able to do this. I'm in the job. I've achieved this. Right, let's build from this. Do you know what I mean? So I think that's the goal for us this season. Look, sure, the team have got different goals. They want to be up there. They want to be competing. But I think from a realistic point of view, stay in this league. Let's look back on this season at the end of the season and go, God, did we give that a good crack? We stayed up. You know, we were really solid. We had an identity. We had an understanding. We went about the way that we pick up points in a certain way, in a certain manner. But I'm with you. I think let's stay up. Let's make sure that Revs is here next year. If he does that, he's cemented a position where there's longevity and an opportunity for him to be with this team and at this club for a long time. And I really back him. I'm behind him all the way. And I really believe in this team. And like you said, get to next season, have a look at the squad. If we can trim it down and keep a core, brilliant. But I really believe in this team, and I think we're going to be absolutely fine this season. I think the opening 4 matches have proved that. When you look and you see the level, you see the other teams, I'm really happy with what we've done. Look, you wouldn't want to be Leighton Orient at the minute. Do you know what I mean? So I'm over the moon with how we're doing.
Bit of a pop at Orient there, given Richie Wellens is.
No, I meant sorry. I just meant you wouldn't want to be as in. Do you know what I mean? Like, sorry, Leighton Orient fans. What I mean is, I wouldn't want to be a Leighton Orient with the pressure on Revs. Do you know what I mean? And that he's not good enough, sort of thing. So I think for us, where we are at the minute, 4 points, point clear, 1 win in the back. You know, we've got that win done early. I think we're in a really good place. But yeah, if we can just stay up. Really solid position. We set the foundations for the future, and that's what's important.
Mike Harneman, a friend of the podcast, has asked, love Mike. He's ask Matt where he sees the press fitting in when he's back, and I'll sort of go first on this, Matt, and you can follow on. I think it's going to be difficult for the Prez to get in, and I think possibly he would have wanted a move in August when you realise how many strikers are going to be in the squad. I think it's going to be tough for him.
Yeah, I'm going to agree. I think it's going to be really tough for Aaron to get back in the side, especially after surgery. As anyone knows, we don't know what he's going to be like after the surgery. I'm assuming he's going to be fine. But, when you look at the pool of strikers, we've got Jamie Reid, Jake Young, Louis
Mm.
Appere, Tyree Simpson, Kennaboa. There's so many good players there. I think it's going to be very... to be honest with you, Gab, I think it's going to be very difficult to look past Reid, Young and Appere, to be
Mhm.
honest with you, even those three.
Yeah,
And obviously, List comes into the fray as well. But I think it's going to be tough for him. I think the one thing that Aaron has over those players is his height. And there's a real useful asset with that, especially if Alex Revell would like to go more direct later on in the season, might do. Aaron Pressley fits that style. But I think it's going to be very difficult for him to get back in the side past Jamie Reid and Jake Young. I just think those
yeah.
two. And Louis Appere, by the way,
Mm.
really impressed.
Oh,
Look,
really?
if he can get a goal in the league, his performance against Huddersfield, I thought was brilliant. He just missed scoring.
Mm.
He gave Tom Lees a really difficult second half.
Yeah.
I was not
I,
blown away, but I was a
mm.
little bit like, whoa.
Do you know what, Matt? I don't know that Louis Appere is going to get you double figures in terms
I
of
agree.
goals,
Yeah.
but I do think that he can facilitate goals from elsewhere. I think Louis Appere was one of the reasons you saw Sam Hoskins get 15, for
Yeah.
instance, for Northampton last year. So his work rate and hold-up play is pretty strong.
Yeah, I agree. And I think it's very clear that Tyree Simpson's not going to be the man that's going to score us a lot of goals. He struggled a little bit time in front of
Mhm.
goal recently. And it's not saying that I don't think he can do it in the season, but I
You like
think,
your ex-Northampton strikers, don't you?
oh, Revs, Tyree, Zappa, they're all coming, aren't they? It's either that or ex-Swindon players at the minute with Kemp and Jake Young. By the way, actually, I'm very excited to see Dan Kemp and Jake Young together in our
Yes,
team. I wonder
yes,
if they can reignite that flame they did for Swindon. That's going to be interesting.
yeah.
But no, I think Aaron, he's going to find it difficult. Might be completely wrong. Might come back and actually Alex Revell likes him as that target man, that presence up
Mhm.
there, literally. But no, yeah, look, I'm with you, Gav. I think he's going to find it tough. When you see Reid, Young, Appere, I just don't know how he's going to get a game time in front of those players.
Yeah, tough, tall order there. Matt, I wanted to ask you about League One generally. Who do you say has been the best opponent you've faced so far this season? Would it be Huddersfield
Um,
based on the first half?
Yeah, I'd say Huddersfield. Yeah, on the best that we played, I'd say Huddersfield. Yeah, no, the first half performance
Mm,
was, and don't get me wrong, they were good second half. I just think we improved a
mm,
lot in the second half and were competitive and could have got a point that day. But yeah, I'd say Huddersfield, the way they moved the ball, the way they got the ball, why they got the ball into really good areas early, they very impressed. They impressed me a lot, actually. I thought Lincoln were good, but this is going to sound really weird. I thought we were better than Lincoln on Saturday, and I think we gave away that result
mm.
really, really stupidly. I thought we looked better than Lincoln, oddly, on Saturday. But Lincoln looked a good side as well. But yeah, I think from the teams we've played in League One, I'd say Huddersfield for me probably looked the best side. But I'm very excited because we've got some big games upcoming. We've got Barnsley next weekend. Obviously, we're off this weekend. We've
Mhm.
got Charlton. We've got Wrexham. We've got Bolton. We've got some big sides coming up. So I'm excited to see how we do against these good sides. They really back us. But yeah, I think for me, Huddersfield, the football they played that day was really good.
Yeah, super impressive. Great start from Wrexham as well. We had a video from Nathan Salt from the Rob Ryan Red podcast. Here's what he had to say.
Right, Wrexham's start to the season, second in League One, and I have to say a lot of it stems from the good work of George Dobson at the base of the midfield. I've seen Charlton fans talking about how disappointed they are that they didn't manage to keep Dobson over the summer, and it is Wrexham's gain because he has kept George Evans out of the team. George Evans has been carrying an injury, but I think even with a fully fit George Evans, he's got a real job on his hands to get back in. George Dobson has been a revelation, has worked with Phil Parkinson before, has been a huge success. I would also say that Parkinson is getting a lot of criticism about the style Wrexham are playing, but Wrexham have been so efficient. They made Peterborough look very average. Bolton were restricted to very little, I thought, in our 0-0 draw there. Reading are not a bad team and were made to look very ordinary. 3-0 win at home for Wrexham. And Wycombe on the opening day, there was always going to be some nerves, and Wycombe did well to try and get back into that game, but a 3-2 win. And Wrexham go into the weekend against Shrewsbury with the chance to go top of the table, which is something that has happened before in previous seasons, particularly in the National League, and Wrexham never knew quite how to handle it. But, two rivals there at different stages in their kind of development and their squad development, and Shrewsbury just kind of hoping to stay up, Wrexham hoping that they can go back to back to back. But it's been a brilliant start, you'd have to say, Gab, and long may it continue. I think Wrexham have still got Paul Mullin to come back in. He looked a little bit rusty when he came on against Peterborough. You've seen Mo Farley has come in now on deadline day from West Brom. He hasn't yet had the chance to show what he's capable of. Ollie Palmer's playing great football, as is Jack Marriott, and Stephen Fletcher is hugely beneficial as off the pitch as well as he is on it, in terms of just helping others grow into it. Seb Revan, young player of the season for Rotherham last year. He is still behind Ryan Barnett, who's been brilliant, potentially one of our best players after Dobson. So many positives for Wrexham right now. And a lot of people, it feels like, outside of Wrexham are not trying to give Phil Parkinson the credit, but what he's created is a team that definitely can hold their own in the top 6 or 7 in League Two, in League One, forgive me, for sure.
Well, what do you think about that then, Matt? Great start for Wrexham. Do you see it lasting after 10 points from their 9 points from their 10 points from their first 4 games?
Yeah, what a start. I tell you what I find mad actually is, Stockport and Wrexham come up and they're both the top 2 of League One. Who'd have thought that? I mean, don't get me wrong, I know that everyone said keep your eye on Stockport, and certainly Stockport, but Wrexham as well. Wow, top 2, 10 points. I think Birmingham are there as well with 10, aren't they?
Yeah, the underdogs, Birmingham.
Yeah, go on,
with the 20 million. £20 million signing.
The 15 million, there you go. But do you know what it is with Wrexham? I think when they come up, you automatically look to their squad and went, well, that squad will do well in League One. Do you know what I mean? It was a case of looking at Paul Mullin and Ollie Palmer and, all Stephen Fletcher, all the original players going, God, they've got a squad for League One. And then you see the additions of George Dobson, as we know him at Charlton, good ball player, good, breaks up the play. I mean, that's a great signing for them.
Yeah, for sure.
And as Rob said there, I'm very impressed with them. I'm very excited, actually. We play them on a Tuesday night, 1st of October. It's coming up really soon. And I'm really excited to see how we do against them. I think Wrexham have got a good side. I think as the latter part of the season goes, I don't think they'll be as high as they are. I think they'll drop a little bit down the division. I wouldn't be surprised to see Wrexham anywhere, maybe just under 10th, maybe 10th, 9th.
Yeah,
maybe around that position. Possibly the same for Stockport. I could see Stockport around those playoff positions, maybe just outside trying to compete. But look, I mean, to come up to this league and to not just be doing the things they're doing, but to be having a conversation where people are saying Wrexham and Stockport will be around those positions is one hell of a season for those teams. I know there's a lot of money there and, they've got a big fan base behind both sides. But no, I think Wrexham have got a really good side. And when you look at the depth in their squad as well, I mean, Elliot Lee, haven't even mentioned Elliot Lee, cracking player. They've got a good side there. I reckon Wrexham will miss out on the playoffs, but I reckon they'll be in and around 10, 9th, something like that.
Yeah, I think it's easy to talk about the financial advantages that they've had, and there's no secret about that. But I also think you look at somebody like Max Cleworthy they've got in defence, who was talked about being loaned out at the start of last season, and now he's starring in League One. Ryan Barnett was signed in the National League when they were in the National League, and he's still playing for them now, even though it's a bit of a left field signing, and he's starring at right wing back. So I think, as well as the money, they have been able to develop players. Really impressive from that point of view, and well done to Wrexham. Blackpool have appointed Steve Bruce as manager. This is Rob Walker's reaction on a surprise appointment at Blingfield Road.
Hi Gab, so this is my reaction to Blackpool appointing Steve Bruce as their new manager. Wow, I didn't see that coming at all. The names that were linked this week were people like Pete Wild, Brian Barry Murphy, Richie Wellens. I think even yesterday it was Michael Beale. And then, just after the full-time whistle against Crewe Alexandria in the Bristol Street Motors Cup, Steve Bruce gets announced. And like most Blackpool fans, I was absolutely speechless. Couldn't believe it. And it's a big call by Simon Sadler. Over time we'll tell if it's going to be a success. I think a lot of Blackpool fans are still a bit stung after the appointment of Mick McCarthy. Mick McCarthy came in after Michael Appleton was sacked. At the time, people thought that was the right decision. But it's fair to say McCarthy's tenure was really unsuccessful. And I think most Blackpool fans, probably in hindsight, maybe would have stuck with Appleton. He might have given us a better chance of survival, because McCarthy's football, was really, really turgid. Couldn't get a tune out of the players, and we got even worse if that was possible. So I think a lot of Blackpool fans are thinking that, Steve Bruce, is it going to go the same way? Hopefully not. Hopefully, he's got a point to prove. He's been out of the game for 2 years after a difficult spell at West Bromwich Albion. But yeah, he's got a massive job on his hands after Blackpool's poor start to the season. There has been promise. I think since Richard Keogh's taken over, we've had 2 draws and 2 wins. The 2 wins coming in the cups. But the 2 league performances, there's definitely been signs of promise. 4 goals away at Cambridge United, and a really positive display against Wycombe Wanderers. And Blackpool really should have been outside at half time. Started the game really well, didn't take the chance, and then Wycombe came into it out of the blue with a mistake from Matthew Payneton. And then second half was a bit more even, but Blackpool still had the better chances. But we certainly showed a lot more positivity going forward, creating chances, playing the front 3, which was exciting. I like the look of Don Ballard. I think he's going to be a great signing for us. Jordan Rhodes scored in the cup last night, which is also good news after his injury spell. So there's nucleus of a not a bad team for Steve Bruce. I don't think we're quite there in terms of top 6. I think we're probably a little bit light in certain areas. I think the division's got a lot stronger, as I've already said on previous pods. But obviously Bruce has probably been promised certain things by the owner, Simon Sadler. So if he can get some of his own recruits in January, if we're in a half decent position by Christmas, then the season could still hold promise to Blackpool fans. So yeah, it's a crazy appointment. It will split opinion. I think Newcastle fans have made their feelings known, but then on the other side, Hull City fans seem to speak quite highly of Steve Bruce. So it's going to be an interesting time at Blackpool. Always is a roller coaster here, so only time will tell. But I must admit, I am not really feeling it right now. But ask me in 3 weeks' time when we've won 4 on the bounce, and my answer will probably change. Cheers, Gab. Bye.
Thanks there to Rob Walker of Blackpool. Matt, I wanted to get your predictions for League One. What was your top 6, did you say, in the end?
So I think my top 6, I had Birmingham winning the league. Mm-hmm. Originally, I had Rotherham in second, but they've had a very, very tough start, although they did beat Huddersfield on Saturday, which is a really, really good result. I think I had Bolton in third. Mm-hmm. I think I did. Then I had, I think fourth was Charlton. I think I had Charlton fourth. I think fifth, I'm just trying to refresh my memory. I think fifth was, no, sorry, I've got it wrong. I had Huddersfield fourth, mm-hmm. Charlton fifth, and then sixth, I think I put... yes, it was Peterborough. That was my top 6 that I had. And I just had, I think missing out in the playoffs, I think was... Who was it? It was quite controversial because me and Andy had a chat.
I'm trying to think. There's a lot of teams that would have been expecting to.
I know, yeah.
That was, isn't it?
Yeah, that was definitely the top 6 because I thought, Birmingham with Evans at Rotherham. Obviously, Rotherham have had the start of that, but yeah, that was my top 6.
Interesting. So presumably you had Wigan outside your top 6.
Wigan. It was Wigan. So I had Wigan in 7th for Reggie.
Yeah. To which, to be fair, at the moment, Wigan outside the top 6 isn't looking like the worst shout because they've lost 3 of their first 4, haven't they? So
yeah, do you know what? Those predictions are really difficult because when we did ours, they're coming into the season, and then the season starts, and then teams change if they sign more players.
I know, yeah. That's the thing, because for me, during the summer, when a team signs a player, I've got time to research them and look up what they're like. Yeah. But of course, in season, it's an absolute nightmare because they're all coming in. You've got no idea who's who, and
it's like
got to work that as you go along, haven't you? Yeah,
I know, it's so difficult. There's been a few teams that I've predicted to finish, not up the top, but mid-table and below. And now I'm thinking, do you know what? I'd actually put them in the top 10 based on it's like Barnsley, for example, right? I still don't think Barnsley are going to be, right in there. But like originally, I kind of thought, I'm not so sure about Barnsley this season. They signed Keeler Dunn, and then they win a few games, and I think, actually, are they going to be more top 10-ish? It's really difficult where to predict, but that's what I found difficult about the. I think we had it actually. I think a few people. I know the not top 20 predicted us to finish third.
They had you going down, didn't you? Was it bottom?
Third bottom. And originally, I listened to it. I thought, what? And then soon after that pod, we went Charlie Good the week after. And then we've signed Jake Young. And actually, I one of them mentioned it recently, going, actually, I'm not so sure I'd put them third bottom now. So it kind of changes the way that the signings happen. So very difficult to predict. But I still think Birmingham will run away with it. I just think you can't spend that much money and have Stansfield and May, and you've got to win the league with that side.
Jesus, imagine if we had last season's the guy who scored 20 plus goals at this level for the last 3 seasons, not even in our starting 11.
Gab, it's absurd. Alfie May and Stansfield, by the way, just to say, Alfie May's already got 4, isn't he? So you've got Stansfield, who's going to do well. He did well last time. I look at Birmingham and I just think you've got to run away with that league. And do you know what?
Matt, I know it's go to Stevenage, low block, Alpejani, heading balls out of the box.
What, Scott Cuthbert and Rebs at St Andrews in November on the touchline? Louis Apre nicks it in the last seconds.
Is it December that you're coming to us?
Well, we're supposed to be coming November, but it's on an international weekend. So I think it'll be a Tuesday night that we come. And I think you come to us. I've got the fixture board up. Where is it? You come to us. Oh, you come to us January, February time.
Right. So that's when my loyalties will be revealed.
End of Feb. No, sorry. End of March. End of March.
Right. Okay. Yeah. That could be a big game,
What, top of the table clash, Gab?
Yeah, a 6-pointer.
Stop it, yeah. What, Jake Young comes in and scores 20 goals in like 4 months. Stop it.
Absolutely. So you're excited for the rest of this season, Matt?
Gab, you know me, I'm like a little kid.
I know.
I can't wait. Gab, I'm so happy. We're 4 matches in. When we kicked off, I was like sitting in the car going, we just kicked off. I can't believe it. We've kicked off this huge season. Oh, I'm like a little kid. And you know what? I just love this team. I love our club, but I love this team. I love the manager. I love Scott, Neil, the players, everyone. I love the fans. I just love everything. And do you know what? I'm really excited to see us playing, in these big crowds, big stadiums, big teams coming to the Amex. I'm really excited to see how we do because I really believe in the team we've got. I'm not sitting here, we're going to win the league on 100 points, although deep down, no, I'm joking. But no, I really believe that we can achieve the goals that we spoke about earlier. So very excited, over the moon. It's underway, and look, for me, it's my life. I go every single game, every single week, and I'll back this team through thick and thin and the manager. So, mate, I'm so excited. And the weekenders are underway, Gab. We've done Leeds, Nottingham. We've got Exeter in 2 weeks. We've got Nottingham and Sheffield coming up, and Blackpool. I can't wait, my man. I'm so excited.
Sounds amazing. Brilliant stuff, Matt. Well, listen, I'm so excited for you for the season ahead, and I'm sure we'll link up again for the remainder of the season. Thanks so much for watching. Please subscribe to the Stevenage Football Club podcast. Big season plan for the podcast, I imagine, Matt?
Well, look, we're recording every week at the minute. We've just got a recent episode on the last month. Massive year for the pod. We're looking to do some big things. We've got a podcast partnership with Sports Social Podcast Network, who are great, and we've tied with them at the minute. We're doing that. We've got a lot more things happening. We're on a lot more features this season as well with the pod. We're just looking to do so many good things. But, it's our hour a week that we talk about Stevenage football team. It's brilliant. And we love the team as we do. So it's easy to chat about it in such a fabulous division. But, big things this season. Andy's still doing Andy's stats, which is, wow, keep your eye on Andy's stats, ladies and gentlemen. It's not just going to be on the notepad soon. We're going to graphics. So keep your eye on that. Big things for the pod this year. We've got a few things up our sleeve this year that might surprise a few people. I'm not going to give anything off. But,
hopefully a Revs interview there, possibly.
Hopefully. You never know. Could be a Revs and Scott Cuthbert podcast. Who knows?
Imagine.
Who knows, Gab? So yeah, I'm gonna leave it a surprise for the listeners, but yeah, we've got some big things that are gonna take over this season. So yeah, we can't wait.
Lovely stuff. Great. Well, listen, hope you've enjoyed this podcast. This has been EFL Debate. Get yourself subscribed to us on YouTube and on Spotify if you've enjoyed this episode. And we'll see you again with another League One podcast very soon.